Hey, good afternoon here. We're going to start this a little earlier than some of our other town halls, and this will be up on the video on our site. I just want to basically share some information with community, and then we're prepped up for our town hall at 1900 on Thursday, and we will make sure that that's advertised appropriately and get the information out to everyone. It's going to be focused on support structure and our and anything that our community needs to make sure that they're okay during this time. A couple of comments I wanted to make up front though. Again, just trying to be open, honest, and transparent about what the current situation is. I think there's a lot of information out there, whether you watch our social media sites or our regular sites or United States Army in Europe or even the national news. I'll just ask you to stay focused on our area because it applies to you today. And we'll keep you posted. Yeah, I took a quick look at the COVID center at Landstuhl, and was very, very happy walking through there with Colonel Mike Weber, the commander, and the Sergeant Major Reynolds. It was outstanding the way that they have it labeled, monitored, and I think it's been an incredible response to what has occurred. I'm very grateful for what they've done. Right now we have a screening team that exists around our bases, and one of the questions that they're asked when you go through the gates, there's a variety of questions, and if you answer yes to any of those, we had previously said you call the nurse line. In these cases now, we can actually send you to our troop medical clinics at both Kleber Kaserne and in Baumholder, or in Landstuhl, where they have a 24/7 operation. So if you go through the gates and you answer yes, you're going to hear this, you're going to get a slip, and you're going to get directed to do some things. So I would just offer to you that I have seen the facility. I've walked through the facility. I have washed properly before I went all those locations, and it is phenomenal what they've done, and I'm really proud to be teammates with the LARMC leadership. They've done a spectacular job of getting that facility. One thing that's interesting about LARMC is people don't realize that they support multiple COCOMs. And because they reside in our footprint, that's just the hospital we go to. But there's a lot of folks that come from lots of far locations, and this was a central reception point for many of the casualties that we had over the last 20 years. And to support all those combatant commands and us locally is absolutely awesome. So big shout out to the LARMC staff. You're doing a terrific job, and keep it up. There's some guidance recently on masks, the wear of masks ordered by the Secretary of Defense. The Air Force have published policies on that for some of our main facilities like the PX and the commissaries, and the United States Army in Europe will have some guidance here probably by the end of the day, and to make sure that we're consistent with what the requirement calls for. I have a couple of things that I wanted to say today in reference to AAFES. I actually had the opportunity to tour, and we did an article on this a couple days ago, between the bakery and then also a Germersheim distribution center. Well, first I'm going to focus on the bakery and then the water plant. Some key things that are happening here. There has been a 35% increase in production of water at the plant. Now, a lot of people don't realize that the plant in Gruenstadt supplies water everywhere. It is amazing. And so, again, it is in our footprint. It is unique and on one of our bases, but they have had no impact to the supply chain. Additionally, they make about 3,500 5-gallon bottles of water a day. One key part to that is you need to return your empties. Don't collect them, don't keep them, or return them. That's very important. The Culligan water system is continuing to deliver, but water cooler swaps are going to be suspended until after this is until we change policy. The bakery, people don't realize this. I'm going to go through a list of products here that are directly produced in the plant. Right now we're averaging about 5,000 loaves of bread, about a 30% increase in the bakery for operations over the last several weeks. The good news is the rigor in that plant, the cleanliness standards, the sanitation, the food inspection process, all of that is still done to an exacting standard that was well in place before we started this COVID crisis. So you'd be very comfortable walking through that plant with what they have going on. They have Mr. Henson and Maggie, who is the Miss Maggie, I call her. She is the chief food inspector, and they have quite an operation over there. Walk through each part of it to look at it, see what's been done, and again, they were at a standard well above the required elements before this even started. Now, what's interesting is that they haven't had a disruption of their products, but I don't think a lot of people realize that they produce products from Wonder Bread, Home Pride, Milton's, Northwest, Nature's Recipe, La Casa, Krispy Kremes, Einstein Bagels, and then all the buns for Burger King and Charlie's or any of our AAFES vendors. That has not been disrupted. If they had to shrink shifts or lower production, then probably the distribution of the products would be less. What's interesting about that is that the bakery has maintained throughout this entire process of what you see at any of the AAFES facilities, but also in DECA, they've maintained the current, what you'd call brand names, rather than shrinking it down just to a couple of loaves of bread or a couple of styles. Interestingly enough, tortillas at all points have increased by like 20%. So a pretty big increase in tortillas, and I guess that the quesadillas are going in kids' lunches or whatever, but just an interesting data point. In reference to the Germersheim distribution point, I had an opportunity to take a look at both the distribution center for AAFES and DECA. And what they've done in those facilities to limit any disruption in the supply chain has been absolutely fantastic. The way folks come in, the way stuff's unloaded, frustrated cargo area, every element and contingency has been met to make sure that we don't disrupt supply chains. And then that also goes along with DLA and our partners there, where they have taken extraordinary measures to make sure that we keep the trucks flowing and it's done in a safe way. Next topic I want to talk about, this is the fancy-dancy chart that my printer cut off the top of a little bit, but this is the new postal chart. We have worked really hard on maintaining postal in the footprint. About a week ago, we had a miscommunication in the amount of hours that we had. That has been fixed. It was fixed after my 400th phone call in a single hour. I think that's my record as a Garrison commander now. But we have published this, and the attempt is the minimum of 2 finance times postal finance windows open, and then having 3 elements of parcel pickup per facility. And each one of these has this. And I have post offices in Baumholder, Kleber, Landstuhl, Robb, and Sembach. And then so if you're in the KMC, you should have 5-day-a-week service for postal finance, and then to your specific APO for your parcel pickups. And then Ramstein does have opportunity for us on Friday with some finance windows. So that's very good for the entire KMC area, and that you still have options. Topic I'm going to talk about now is MWR. We're working through this and trying to develop what we'll call our virtual MWR program. If you're going to start looking on some of the systems that we have, our Facebook sites, our regular internet sites, they're posted everywhere. We did kind of flood one of our sites with information up front, but now we're trying to make sure that that's done in a daily schedule so everybody can see this in a very organized manner day by day. Today, just for example, in CYS Spring Break Staycation is April 7th, Stay Active. So you can be active like I was last night and running with my kid in the trails, and then trying to make sure my heart still worked at the end of it when we got finished. But today we had 09, a family event, 11 guests from outer space. You have to go back and relook at that. Right now, as we speak, writing letters for essential workers with Mrs. To'oa, making bird feeders with Miss Debbie, these are folks that have volunteered to come in and make a program. So the whole idea is, hey, making bird feeders with Miss Debbie. It's her class. She's recognized as teaching that class and as a volunteer. 1500, a special song for Mr. Micah. And then 1900, social connecting while social distancing. And that's just a template for today. Absolutely fantastic. And we're moving all in the right direction. In reference to the rest of our MWR programs and our spring break, MWR is just, this is just the first part of a week-long virtual activities. We had Sydney's chicken coop, which hopefully you didn't miss yesterday, but you can go rewatch it. You know, the kind of the creativity that folks are putting to this is quite amazing. You know, you have an individual out there, they have a chicken coop, they raise chickens, they name their chickens. We had never done that when I was growing up, but they name their chickens. And what's interesting about that, walks them through, and kind of the ingenuity of the video use was absolutely fantastic. I was blown away of just how to make it interesting for the kids and let them walk through the barnyard and see all the chickens. I was just really proud that Sydney decided to do that. And then finding buried treasures with Matt was kind of a package deal. You know, we're publishing the schedule every day. So if you go onto our Facebook sites, you're going to see it pinned to the top. You'll have a COVID update, and you have the schedule pinned to it. And the idea is that that's where you go every day to see the content that's available. And I think they're doing a wonderful job with that. The staycation includes, it's on our Facebook site for Rheinland Pfalz CYS specifically, in addition to the scheduling. And then later this week, you'll have an opportunity, and this is just one example, to learn how to make soap, of all things. The irony of that. So there's folks out there that know how to make soap. They create sock bunnies and then bake some bread. And maybe it's not the baking of the bread like maybe like 15 years ago when we all got bread makers for Christmas, and you just stick it in there and then 3 hours later you have a loaf of bread. This is actually like probably a little bit more time intensive and actual materials, and not just out of a package. We also have activities designed to be fun, such as new vocabulary, the science concepts, art designs, or just simple everyday tasks you're trying to make easier on yourself. What's interesting is there's a collection that's coming both from our CYS personnel and then also from just folks in the community. We still have the, requesting your assistance on our Facebook site. All you have to do is call in or write in and say, this is what I do, this is what's really cool, and then our team will contact you, and then to come up with strategies to make sure that our connections are good, our sense of community, and how is that bringing us all together. So I'm really excited about that. Next week we are launching a Studies at Home event, and you'll have to stay tuned for that. It is a early childhood education while continuing to provide information for parents for school-age children in the afternoons. And DODEA has published a couple things. We'll cover this in a couple of days on Thursday when we talk about the full support package. There's been some adjustments that we covered in the DODEA town hall a couple of days ago. And then lastly, I'll talk about religious services, and we're going to bring this up more in depth on Thursday. It's very important. I think everyone needs to hear across the board is that we're trying to make sure that there is an option for every religious faith that is in our footprint. This weekend, some guidance went out. It was interpreted a little bit differently than what it was intended, and it disenfranchised some folks from a service. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that all services have an option, that it's well advertised, and everything that is available to you in a comprehensive sheet that we'll put on our social media site and get it out to the broadest population possible. So I just want to take a few minutes today to talk to you. I would ask that as you watch this video, please make sure you attach questions that we can address for support on Thursday, and we'll look forward to answering them and getting you the best product we can in this very, very quick time period to develop this new stand, if you will, of virtual platform. So thank you. Please take care of yourself, take care of each other. Call your family members. I had the opportunity to talk to my dad the other night. It was really great seeing him and my mom and my grandma, and then some other family members that I got to talk to over the phone. They're worried about us overseas, like we're worried about them back in the U.S. or wherever they're at. And I just take the time to do that and stay connected. Thank you for your time today, and look forward to seeing you on Thursday.